Hello, today I want to talk to you about how you can use the ASP.NET Futures release from May 2007 to control the history in your web browser. One of the problems or pain points with AJAX applications has been that when we update a portion of the screen, we're not updating an entire document, and so the browser's history hasn't had a new entry added to it. This means that if the user clicks the back button, instead of moving back one AJAX step, they move back an entire document. And in some cases the back button isn't even enabled because you haven't left the original document that was loaded. So I'm going to show you how you can use the new ASP history control to insert history points into your browsing history so that you can use the back button to get back to another place. So I've installed on this machine the May 2007 Futures release of the ASP.NET. So I'm going to start off and create a new project. So I'll go up to File, New, Website. And when I install the Futures, I get some new templates. So I'm going to choose the ASP.NET Futures AJAX website. And I'm going to give it a name, which in this case I will call Browser History VB, and I will make the language Visual Basic. I'll click on OK and it'll create a new template for me. So the output of that project template is a website with a default.aspx page that contains a script manager and a div tag and nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and make some changes to this to create a typical ASP.NET AJAX page. I'm going to go into my toolbox and I'm going to drag over an update panel. And then I'm going to switch over to Design View. And I want to go into my Server Explorer, and I've already set up a connection to the Northwind database on my machine, and I'm just going to drag over the customers table. When I drop that in the update panel, it's going to create a data grid view for me in a SQL data source, and it's going to automatically wire this up. So one of the things that I want to do is change my properties on my data grid view to enable paging. And once I've done that, I'm going to click on the data grid view itself to get to the properties. And I'm going to change the page size to 5. If I run this now, you'll see that I get a page with a data grid view on it and the ability to page through these. As I click on New Pages, you'll notice that the back button is not enabled. As far as the browser is concerned, I haven't left my default.aspx. So now I'm going to go in and change this behavior. To do that, I need to add a new control. So I'll go back into my toolbox, and in the ASP.NET Futures, I'll add the history control. I then need to change a couple of properties of the existing controls on my page. The first thing that I need to change is the update panel, and I need to set a trigger on it. So I will set a trigger that tells it that I want it to look at the history control. I also need to add an event for the data grid for the page ends at index changed. Inside of this event handler, I just need to add a single line of code that's going to call the history object and call the add history point method on that. This has an overload that takes a string, which I'm going to call start page, and then an object, which is the state or what I want to store. And so I'm going to cast the sender parameter as a grid view, and then store the page index property. The next change I need to do is to go back to my history object, my ASP.NET history, and create an event for the history object's navigate event. The navigate event fires when the back button or some other user action causes me to navigate to this page again. Inside this method, I'm going to declare an integer value called start page, and set it to an initial value of 1. Then I'm going to check to see if the arguments passed in the state object of that contains the key start page, which is what I stored when the page index changed. If it does, I'll reset the variable start page to be the value that was stored in that state object. And finally, I will just set the page index of my grid view to be equal to whatever the start page is. With those simple changes, I'm able to run it again. And now I'm able to go and click on the different pages and move through the pages. And when I go to the back button, it handles it correctly and moves me to the page that I was on previously. Hopefully you've seen how easy it is to use the ASP history control that's included in the May 2007 preview of the ASP.NET Futures to enable history and using the back button so that it does the right thing in your ASP.NET AJAX application.